Hello everyone, and welcome to Lancelot's Nerd Corner, where I'm proud to present another 6th scale figure review. Today, we're going retro to take a retrospective look at Suicide Squad Harley Quinn Special Edition by Hot Toys. And I'm really glad to be giving you my honest and detailed account of the figure. Now, this figure was originally released all the way back in 2017, 6 years ago, so I highly doubt it will be in stock anymore in places you shop at. But the purpose of this retro review is more so to give you an idea of what you can expect if you do decide to pick this figure up today, and to investigate just how well this figure holds up after all this time. It's safe to say this figure has one of the most expressive head sculpts from Hot Toys, for better and for worse. On the one hand, it absolutely captures Harley Quinn's character. However, it might not be to everyone's liking due to just how expressive it is. It's clearly based on the film's promotional material, and while that choice does make sense, a neutral or smirking expression might have been better, especially because Hot Toys didn't provide an alternative second head sculpt. It also means the figure will have to be posed or photographed from the side because her eyes are looking to the left. And I'm certain if this figure were made today, having a rolling eyes function would be a perfect, almost necessary addition to this head sculpt. The expression also makes assessing the likeness to Margot Robbie a bit tricky, but it's generally very good. Especially since it's meant to emulate a specific poster expression, and I think it does that exceptionally well. However, I do think it would have benefited from the eyes being a tad bigger and the lips slightly fuller. The paint application is top-notch, as you can see the skin's texture on her very pale complexion. Hot Toys also made sure to capture small and screen-accurate details like the makeup around her eyes, the red and blue running down her face, plus the little tattoos on her right cheek. The teeth, tongue, and lipstick also have a slight glossy finish, making them look incredibly realistic. Lastly, the hair is sculpted very well, and you can clearly see the individual strands pulled back into her pigtails. However, it is, strangely, painted very shiny, which does detract from the realism a bit. The pigtails are also incredibly well made, with the ends sculpted wavy to add a dynamic touch. But if that wasn't enough, they're actually articulated, which truly adds some dynamic flair to just the head sculpt alone. It's a unique feature that helps this wonderful head sculpt stand out more than it already does. Now, let's move on to the figure itself, starting with the body, which is sturdy and surprisingly heavy as well. It's most likely because this is a custom body developed specifically for this figure, and it shows. It's predominantly in the paint app with the very pale complexion, as well as the dozens of screen-accurate tattoos all over the body. The sculpt work is also specialized, with details like the defined midriff and those very, and I mean very, thick thighs, with at least 3 C's. However, the joints are a bit of a letdown, since the figure only has single-jointed elbows, and those atrocious knees are pretty hard to ignore. Although the elbows can be hidden by the shirt sleeves, they do still restrict articulation, and the shoulder joint doesn't offer a great range of motion either. And as for the knees, well, they suffer from both problems. They look very unsightly without any way to hide them, and are only single jointed. Other than that, the figure has a fairly standard level of articulation. But the body isn't what you're here for. Or maybe it is. What you're here for is the beautiful and vibrant costume, which is just as aesthetically pleasing in 6th scale as it was in the movie, and makes this figure truly stand out in your display. Harley's top is a 3/4 sleeve shirt made of a soft, stretchy cotton fabric, and is cropped, exposing her lower midriff. It's predominantly white with striking red accents, and the left sleeve having red and blue stripes. The shirt is also chock full of details, including text on the front, with black cross-stitching above it and to the right. There's even the subtle detail of the collar and bottom lining being ripped, and while the tears and holes in the shirt aren't exactly screen accurate, they still add to the shirt's authenticity. Over the shirt is a black shoulder holster with red stitching and silver studs. It's made out of a glossy pleather material, and you can actually store her revolver on the left side. There are slots on the right as well for the speed loaders, but they can be very challenging to fit inside. Around her neck is a gold choker with the word puddin etched into it, and a rough textured surface going all around. The figure also comes with an additional jacket accessory that can be worn over the shirt. It's in the style of a red and blue varsity jacket with gold accents as seen in the film. The back has the words "Property of Joker" embroidered in gold, along with additional designs on the lower half. The jacket is also made of a few different materials, with the outside featuring a satin-like fabric which is prone to thread pulling, and other areas having cotton, glitter felt, and even hard plastic for the zipper. It's also much thicker than the shirt and tailored a bit tighter than what we saw on screen, so you might need to consider removing some wrist accessories to get the sleeves to fit properly. The wrists have two different accessories. The first is a purple band adorned with the words "Yes" and "Sir" in gold. And the second is a gold spiked bracelet, which is very pointy, so please be extra careful when articulating her arms or hands. Speaking of which, the figure comes with a total of 8 hands, including a pair of relaxed, gun holding, bat holding, and additional gripping gestures. The left hands are sculpted with a red fingerless glove featuring blue, black, and white accents. On the palm of the glove is more of a light brownish tone, and her nails have letters that spell out evil. The right hand is bare and more of your standard soft rubbery Hot Toys hand, but it's got a gold finger accessory and red and blue nail polish for that extra Harley flair. This is also a good time to point out an incredibly frustrating and egregious part of this release, which are the wrist pegs. They are an older style of wrist pegs that can come apart very easily when pulling them out, and out of the 4 that came with this figure, none of mine survived. I now have to use a pair of reserve pegs belonging to the Big Chief Studios Tommy Shelby figure that thankfully fit perfectly. So if you're thinking of getting this figure nowadays, it's best to be prepared with an additional set of wrist pegs in the very likely case that this figure's pegs break. Around her waist is a black and silver studded belt with a golden diamond shaped buckle. It's a bit more loose fitting than what we saw in the film, but that also means you can adjust it to your liking. Underneath the belt are the very short shorts, which are made of a textured and slightly shimmery fabric to mimic the look of sequins like in the film. And for those of you who were waiting for it, my oh my, did they give this figure a booty. However, I still think the BVS Bat Booties got this one beat. The legs are covered by black fishnet stockings and have a few holes or tears, although I suspect some of them might have accidentally been my doing when posing the figure. Lastly, the figure's footwear are high-heeled boots, styled like sneakers, with the top half partially detached in the front. They feature great sculpted details all around, even though the paint app on these boots is less precise than usual. And unfortunately, the nature of these high-top boots does limit ankle articulation a bit, but at least they do a good job of balancing the figure. Now that we've covered the entire figure, let's take a look at all the accessories the figure comes with. The figure comes with the 8 hands and jacket that we already covered, as well as a display base, revolver, baseball bat, handbag, speed loaders, and a hammer that is exclusive to the special edition release. The display base is the rectangular Hot Toys base that used to be more standard in the past. The surface is meant to resemble cracked concrete and has a rough texture, which helps reduce slipping. In the front is the name of the figure, with the movie name and a crosshair on either side. It also comes with an additional prop of a small cinder block with metal rods sticking out. It's made out of plastic and rubber respectively, and is sculpted and painted tremendously well. And lastly, it uses a standard crotch grabber. The revolver is an amazing accessory that is loaded with details that make it a standout piece. The handle has a sculpted Harley Quinn face in gold, and the barrel is painted with gold accents, like the row of diamonds on the bottom and an Art Nouveau style design on the top. The cartridge cylinder has Harley's initials and the words love and hate alternating on each chamber. One thing to note though is that the cylinder on my revolver is quite loose, and I've seriously considered just gluing it in place. The baseball bat is another beautifully painted accessory, as the wood grain pattern gives it a realistic appearance, and the slightly shiny paint finish makes it look freshly polished. Letters spelling out "Good Night" run down the length of the bat and are surrounded by illegible red and black script. The handbag is a shiny silver metal piece, although both the bag and chain are just made of plastic, and either side has a three-dimensional geometric design. The speed loaders are tiny little accessories that have 6 cartridges jutting out of the black and silver body. As mentioned earlier, they can be stored on the figure's holster, but not without a bit of difficulty. Lastly, the special edition release comes with an exclusive hammer accessory, which serves as a great homage to the comics and the character of Harley Quinn. The handle and stem are just painted a solid black and blue, but the real star of the show is the hammer head, which is fantastically sculpted and painted to look like rotting wood. The ends on either side are blackened and cracked, adding to the realism, and a ring of red diamonds with cursive text on either side wraps around it. Despite being the first of many Margot Robbie Harley Quinn figures, this original rendition from Hot Toys may prove to be the definitive version of the character. Even if the costume isn't very comic accurate, it's undeniably aesthetically pleasing, well-tailored, and superbly detailed. Combine that with what is possibly the best head sculpt we've seen on a Harley figure, as well as a slew of awesome accessories, and you've got yourself a figure that's very hard to resist, even after all this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this retro review helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.